we're going to start off with some cool art reviews. My team has put together some things for me to show you, and then we'll do a Q&A, and then I have a reading. I'm going to apologize in advance for this reading. It is very weird. I'll give you more of an explanation for why, but for once, you don't have to leave if you don't want spoilers, because there's no spoilers. It's a thing that will probably never get published because it is so weird. So, the first piece here is something I've been waiting for a long time to show you guys. We have, coming up in March, we have a crowdfunding campaign for what we're calling the Hoyd Storybook Collection. Key to one of these is we got the awesome Howard Line. You might know him. He did the art for Trusted Emerald Sea for our edition. Well, I went to him and I said, imagine you were going to do The Dog and the Dragon as a classic children's storybook. And we took the text, and Howard did just a fantastic job. So that's going to be one of the stories that we're doing. If you want to see previews of the others, we will have those all ready by Nexus. And of course, we'll record that so you can watch it after the fact, all right? So look for that coming in. We also have the Lost Metal Leatherbound coming. We used to wait 10 years, but then we figured we'd rather finish off series, so this one isn't quite 10 years between our editions, the original edition of Leatherbound. But with this, we have some pretty nice end pages. These are by Brian Mark Taylor. We've been working on, yes, some Brian Mark Taylor fans. He's local, so he's pretty awesome. And he did these two end pages, just Ellendale streets and things, and you can kind of see down the canals. We're very fond of those. Another piece we have here is by Victor, Victor Adame Nunez. And this might be my favorite piece in the Lost Metal. Those who have read the book know what this picture is doing. Let's see. And then we also have our release for this year was Isles of the Emberdark, which many of you got. We've got our editions at the booth, but if you're interested in the kind of tour and UK editions, which will be a little cheaper, we've got the cover reveal for those guys coming up. These are awesome covers. And let me see, these are done by Brian Edward Miller. Last thing I've got here in this sort of preview/announcements is we are doing Wheel of Time Leatherbounds. Yeah. You Wheel of Time fans, we wanted to do something fun to commemorate this. So we went to Blackbeard Swords, I believe is the name of it, Blackbeard Projects on YouTube, and we decided to forge a Heronmark blade. Yeah. So I think we made like 2 or 3 of these. Maybe we only made 1, I can't remember. But we're going to give it away. So the way you get this is by signing up for the Wheel of Time Leatherbound newsletter. We have a separate newsletter for this. This is kind of one of my mandates is we don't want to spam people, and I don't want to fill my newsletter with things that people might not be interested in, right? You guys get so much spam, I get so much spam. So we have a separate mailing list for this. If you're signed up for it already, you're already signed up for the drawing, but if you would like to, then you can sign up for the newsletter. This will give you updates on when we have the Wheel of Time Leatherbounds. We're not going to do a crowdfunding campaign on this. We're just going to do a pre-order. And then on Kolos Head Munching Day, my birthday, very coincidental, and that's the holiday where the Kolos eat people's heads. If you want to sign up for that, then go right ahead and we will do a drawing for that and give away a sword. I'm not sure what the logistics of us sending you a sword are, but I'm sure my team will figure it out. This was their idea. So for about 30 minutes now, what we're going to do is we're going to do the Q&A. Now, let me prep you for the Q&A. Try not to give spoilers. There are plenty of people in here who have not read certain books and would not appreciate having spoilers. Spoiled? So if you can possibly circumlocute, talk around anything that might be a spoiler, or if there's no way to do it without spoiling, anything in the last half of the book to 2/3 of the book, then come up maybe with a different question. And I will do my best to answer you, all right? So, question number 1 right here.
How's it going, Brandon?
Doing pretty well, how are you?
Yeah, I didn't bring my list close, so I brought my calendar.
Oh, that's a very good candor.
So my question is about calendar. If an Andro were to eat a dragon, would they be able to do the inherent dragon shapeshift?
If a Khandra ate a dragon, would they be able to do the shapeshift? No, they would not. So Khandra, taking someone's form doesn't let them have access to most of the things that they would be able to do. Like it doesn't give them, if, for instance, you eat an Alamancy, you don't end up with Alamancy. And in the same way, there is something going on with the dragons that wouldn't allow this. So, excellent question. A good voice for Hoyt, right? And Hoyt, as a storyteller for a long-form sort of novel thing, it was a bit of a challenge to figure out what his voice would be and what types of stories he would tell. I tried a bunch of different things. This is the one that went a little too far. And you'll see what I mean when I'm reading it. I wanted the stories that Hoyt was telling to actually be canonical to the Cosmere, and him not be exaggerating too much. He does occasionally. This one went a little too far. So we're going to read this. I don't have a name for this. It's just called Chapter 1, The Princess. And we'll let you see how, if I let Hoyt go a little too far, how it might turn out. On Princess Celebrant's 13th birthday, her father named a day of the week after her. Though the signs have been clear all along, that day, her 13th birthday, was probably the first time Celebrant should have realized she was 4. Younger children can be forgiven for not picking up on such intricacies, as they are, naturally, oblivious, sociopathic, self-interested machines who continue to draw breath only because our species evolved oxytocin. Not oxytocin, we didn't evolve that. But a teen should have realized the truth. The massive undertaking of renaming a day involved replacing calendars, educating the public, and consoling the clergy. Fortunately, the goddess the day had been named after wasn't a popular one. The king, in a rare moment of wisdom, figured that if the goddess wasn't mad about the whole not being a worship thing, she might not mind this either. On Princess Celebrant's 14th birthday, the king gave her a castle. Never mind that she already had 3 she'd never visited. This should have clued Celebrant to the fact that she was spoiled. But the kingdom did need a great number of castles. The war against the dragons was ongoing after all. On her 15th birthday, Celebrant's father gave her a vault full of gold. This was necessary, you see, as she used up the previous one. It is normal, Celebrant thought, for a child to have an allowance. And vaults of gold seemed common, really, considering how many her family had. On her 16th birthday, her father gave her the color red. Though this was mostly symbolic, it really should have warned her. Remarkably, she had a near miss on her 17th birthday. You see, the king banned sugar for a day for everyone except for Celebrant. So that evening, she sat at her dinner, staring at her lemon meringue pie, and asked the question, "Father," she said, "how does everyone else not having sugar today make my dessert any better?" Come again, dear?" he asked, eating his own pie. Because, of course, he had his own slice, despite the man. "My dessert," she said, pointing with her fork. "Wouldn't it taste just as sweet to me if everyone else could have sugar?" She edged toward understanding, like a baby bird on the rim of the nest. Surely, this decree would make people angry. Surely they were supposed to enjoy her birthday. Didn't she want them to? "Ah," her father said, pretending to understand. Here, see, if they don't have sugar for a day, they'll appreciate it all the more. They'll remember just how sweet it is after a day of fasting, yes they will. Just as they'll remember your sweetness, my dear." It was an answer. Not a good one, but like a strong gust of wind to frighten the baby bird back into the nest, this worked. Celebrant smothered her concerns in meringue and made them back. Finally, her 18th birthday. Worried about how she'd reacted to her exclusive day of sugar, her father reasoned his gift hadn't been dramatic enough to impress her. So for Celebrin's grand 18th birthday, the king made her name legally unique. Nobody else was allowed to be called Celebrin. The day of the week, though, was fine. As one might imagine, her name had become quite a popular choice for girls over the last 18 years. That changed in a legislative flash, and in an instant, some 10,000 girls were forced to change their names. You'd have thought this, at last, would give Celebrin herself some hint of a clue that she was spoiled. Instead, she reasoned that everyone should have a unique name, and so this legislation made perfect sense. Her parents had worked hard to come up with something original, and a name was the only gift Celebrin had from her late mother, who had been eaten by a dragon soon after giving birth. Celebrin would likely have missed understanding this birthday, as she had the others, save for one factor. She had a bodyguard, a youth named Driscoll, who had been sent back from the front lines after having his right arm ripped off. He'd recovered and recuperated as best one could following such an event, and he wore 3 medals proclaiming how brave he'd been. Driscoll didn't feel brave. Losing his arm had made him scream and wet himself, but he confided in his father, a grizzled veteran and head of the princess's bodyguards. The older man had said something legitimately wise. "You on your feet now, lad?" "Yes, father." His father had tapped each medal in turn. "There for that part, not for the part where he lost the arm." Driscoll had understood. We'll talk about his nightmares, his cold sweats, and his months spent lying awake at night trembling later. For now, let's just say he understood. Celebrin's 18th happened roughly 2 days after his assignment to serve under his father, watching over the princess. The evening of her birthday, after the glory of the fruit punch synchronized swing routine, the novelty of the dancing cattle, and a spectacular indoor firework display, Celebrin stood on her balcony with a small complement of 20 bodyguards and around as many handmaids. She looked up at the moon shimmering in the sky, and she wondered-eyed, "Do you think the dancing cattle were better trained last year?" "No, Highness," said one of the handmaidens, beating the others to it. "They were so spectacular." "You sure?" Celebrin asked. "Absolutely," another handmaiden said. "I don't think they made a pyramid last year, did they?" "That's true," Celebrin said. "And I suppose they did taste better this year, too." That was the moment. Driscoll's eyes had been bulging all night, but this really threw him. Though he'd been instructed to be silent, he couldn't help himself. Perhaps once you've had part of yourself eaten by a large pseudo-reptile, the monarchy seems less intimidating. "Wait," Driscoll said. "Wait. The beef at dinner. That was from the trained dancing cattle?" Celebrin glanced at the young man, realizing she didn't recognize him. Yes?" "They said," he sputtered, "at the beginning of the show that it takes years of dedicated work to train the beasts. You had them slaughtered." "Well, of course," Celebrin said. "Why?" he exclaimed, ignoring the guards on the other side of the room, hissing for him to be silent. "Why under the firmament would you do that?" Celebrin wasn't offended so much as she was confused. Nobody ever spoken to her this way. She cocked her head, trying to understand the young man's state of distress. "Well," she said, "you wouldn't expect me to eat untalented steak now, would you?" Untalented. Slowly, Driscoll's brain processed the words. He took it all in. Her legitimate confusion, the night's extravagance, then it slipped out. The words that would change a life, and perhaps a nation. "By and down and above," he whispered, "you're the most spoiled thing I've ever seen." Several handmaidens gasped. One of the guards straight on fainted. Celebrin merely pursed her lips. Spoiled, she thought. I wonder what that means. Chapter 2. Spoiled. What an odd word, the princess thought as she stood on the balcony right after the word had been spoken. Like soiled, perhaps? No, that was a dreary word. Maybe spoiled meant something like oiled. She had learned about perfume recently in her studies, and those generally started with a fragrant oil as a base. And yet her handmaidens were so scandalized. Plus, one guard, upon hearing the word, had immediately fainted. Why would a word make someone faint? She cocked her head and looked to him as the other guards caught him and set him down. Then she looked to the man who had spoken the offending word, and he was now blushing deeply. Now, over the last few months, the princess had begun to realize that something was off about the way people interacted with her. She couldn't define it, as she had very little to use as a frame of reference. She could only watch others to see how they interacted with one another. She was not socially adept, but she did realize she wanted to know what this word meant. In order to learn, her gut said she needed to minimize what had just happened. Whenever there was a big fuss, people got extra touchy around her. Therefore, she decided to shift everyone's focus away from the guard who had spoken the word, and instead on the poor one who had fainted. "Oh," she exclaimed, "he must have locked his knees. You're never supposed to lock your knees. Someone send for the palace surgeon. Then everything will be okay." They did, and it was. Such a curious experience. They all seemed relieved by the fuss over the fallen soldier. When the surgeon asked them what happened just before the soldier collapsed, Celebrant allowed herself a tiny lie and said she didn't remember, that she'd been staring up in the sky and contemplating her father's great love for his people. The servants had been chatting about something, but she didn't remember what. This made everyone relax further, including, noticeably, Vocal, the head of the bodyguards. How to describe him? He was a soldier, yes, but you'd expect that of a bodyguard. Vocal was like a sausage grilled over a campfire after a long day of work. An expert chef will always make you a finer meal than the campfire sausage. Indeed, if you order a sausage from a good restaurant, it will most certainly be better than one of your home-cooked ones. And yet, nothing tastes better than a sausage grilled at the end of a long hike, made for yourself. Strange how that is. No fine sauces, no utensils, and minimal expertise. Yet there's just something special about a good sausage made over a campfire. Likewise, if Vocal were to enter a swordsmanship competition, he'd most certainly lose. With only one good eye, but a glorious mustache, and a body slightly past its prime, he'd do fine. He wouldn't wash out, but he would also never win. Yet strangely, if you wanted someone protecting your family, your gut said, pick Vocal. There was something about this quiet wall of a man with ruddy skin, bald head, and leather complexion. Something that whispered to you that he didn't want the best swordsman, he wanted the best bodyguard. And he was it. Contest began. Vocal had arrived after the incident, but before the fallen guard was carried away. He studied everyone involved and dismissed the young guard who had spoken a strange word. Celebrant noted the family resemblance, said nothing, but sat up all night thinking. Spoiled. She'd had extensive lessons in literature, poetry, and philology. How did she not know this word? So, once tonight's handmaiden was snoring, the princess slipped out of bed and went to her library chamber. Her father, of course, had spared no expense in outfitting it for her. He had not one dictionary, but 6. She chose Alstrom's great unexplicated reference of all known words in their origins, 18th edition. It had text so small she needed a magnifying glass to read it. There, right between spoffish and spoke was the word spoiled, defined as adjective, charming, comforting, pretty, princessly in every way, like Princess Celebrant. Oh, well, that made sense. Except, why was her name in the dictionary? She checked the other 5 and found similar definitions, though one had a typo. Then she spent the night pouring through definitions of other words in the latest edition. The word beautiful used her as a reference. That made sense, as being pretty was her job. But so did the word charming and the word winsome, and even the word comely, a term she'd never really liked because she was sure it was hiding something. All in all, she was able to identify 37 places in the dictionary where her name came up, including the one for spoiled. She eventually returned to bed, but continued to have trouble sleeping. Something itched in her, like a barely whispered conversation at a party, when she'd been certain her name had been mentioned. She wanted to know what nice things people were saying about her when that happened, but when she spoke to them, they seemed to be hiding their emotions, as if they didn't want her to know the true depths of their affection for her. She was close to what she didn't know, but she was determined to find out. The next day was linguistics practice, where she was taught the languages of various nearby kingdoms so she could charm their dignitaries at parties. She was joined by Professor Campbell, a bearded, squinty-eyed man who had reportedly come out of the womb carrying a parameter. He conjugated ancient words in the past perfect for fun and kept a list of homonyms in 17 languages to be found in the music. His knack was the ability to see typos in spoken sentences. Yes, you heard that right. Professor, Sullivan said, rising and greeting him, I'm glad to see you. You were off for your anniversary last week, is that correct? Indeed, Your Highness, he said, bowing and removing his hat. His mustaches did seem to wave hello as he did so. Did you enjoy your new carriage? She asked. My what? Your new carriage. Father gets a new carriage for his anniversary every year. Did you pick gold or white for yours? White, thanks. Excellent taste, Professor, she said. Quite stunning with black horses. I hope you chose black horses. I did. She nodded in approval, imagining the professor's beard shaking as he looked out the window of his anniversary carriage while touring the grounds of his estate. How many books the professor must have in his mansion? She pressed him once where his mansion was, and he just said far, far away. which she took to mean out in the countryside, which made sense. She had one out there, though she'd never visited, but she heard it was nice. The story was when at that dinner, the king announces her cousin, who is loathsome, as the new heir, because there's a law that only someone who's slain a dragon can inherit the kingdom. And so she decides she needs to go kill the dragon. Now, why did I not decide to keep writing this? Well, as I told you, it is fun. It matches a lot of the storytelling styles and some things like you might have seen in Dealing with Dragons by Patricia C. Reedy. I think it's pronounced Reedy, isn't it? And things like that, but it was too silly, too non-canon to fit in the Cosmere. So maybe I'll take it out of the Cosmere and finish it someday. But I thought you guys would have fun hearing through something that wouldn't be spoilers and that you don't get to hear anywhere else. If you want to read it again, we'll probably post it on my website. Otherwise, I do want to say I do have a book coming out in December. I should promote that. It's a collection of all of my science fiction stories, so I hope you enjoy that. It's called Tailored Realities, and I hope to see many of you at Nexus. Thank you so much.